ladies and gentlemen, welcome leaders to this session. We've got a great speaker who has got experience in a number of areas in leadership, who will then be providing a master class. And if this is not mentorship, then I don't know what it is. I think people, we are too married to the idea of mentorship, of a one-on-one mentorship. But I think this is a great way of bringing in leaders of industry to come and mentor. And we know that people are, especially in this time constraint, in these times where time is really a high commodity that is rare. So let me stop giving a speech and welcome you again. Thank you for joining. Today's topic is really the role of captains of industries in Africa in the 21st century. And the 21st century is really characterized by a lot of interdependency, it's full of complexity. We speak of VUCA, as we know, it's accelerating change, and it's unforeseen and unprecedented events that we've seen so far. And I think for me, the speaker that we have today, I don't want to get into too much because we've got someone who's going to be doing the intro, but really I think the speaker that we have in the industry that she's in is really the right one to be talking about how to lead in the 21st century. So today's program really is that we've got Mahai, who's the chairperson of Tshwane branch, who's going to then introduce our speaker, then after which our speaker then will come and give her keynote, and then we'll have an interactive question and answer sessions. I look forward to that session. And then we'll have Gauteng, who's the Secretary of Gauteng Province, to then come and give a vote of thanks. So without further wasting of time, let me welcome Mahai to come and then give an intro for our speaker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Mpho, for the welcome. Okay, yes, I'd like to welcome you all to this great leadership series. Like Mpho has rightfully said, mentorship is not just a one-on-one. It can be offered on such platforms, considering the times that we are in currently. This is an effective way of really offering such series. But I want to welcome Ms. Shelly Mashaba, who is the current CEO of PwC Southern Africa and a senior partner there. I think the purpose of tonight is not for me, nor Mpho, to take you through her journey, but to allow her to take her through the journey herself, so that we can pick up, let me call them principles and some learnings that, yes, not all of us might abide to, but we can pick up what we want to pick up, and we can take that, and that can help us navigate our own professional lives in the organizations that we serve.
Okay, so I think in the interest of time, colleagues, we're just struggling with connectivity on Mahai's side. But I think, like she said, it's not for us to tell you about Sis Shelly's journey, but for her, for us to sit back and listen. I mean, I've seen the short bio that her office sent, and I must say it got me really excited and energized. In terms of just looking forward to listening, but also just when somebody that seems possible. So it's the dreams that we're dreaming don't seem so impossible when we've got people like Sis Shelly Mashaba. So without getting into too much, let's ladies and gentlemen, just help us welcome Sis Shelly Mashaba to come and give the keynote. Sis Shelly, thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mpho and Mahai. Unfortunately, she couldn't finish. Ladies and gentlemen, the BMF Leadership honored guests. I'm really excited to be sharing with you my journey tonight and also some principles around leadership. It is always a pleasure for me to be invited to speak at BMF functions, and more so when we are recognizing the achievement of Black professionals who have quite literally defied the odds, stereotypes, and socioeconomic boundaries to become leaders within their various industries. Of course, you'll agree with me that 2020 threw an additional curveball with the COVID-19 pandemic and its associated challenges testing us all in terms of having to reimagine the way we work, the way we interact, and the way we do almost everything, including the way we lead. We have had to find new ways of doing things, which has very often necessitated a totally new mindset and new approach. How we adapt to such challenges is what makes a good leader. Yes, indeed, we are living in a very difficult world, and it's so accurate to say that agility is crucial for survival in the new normal. So I have been requested to really touch on my journey and also touch on what it takes to be an impactful leader. Let me start with the latter. So what defines an impactful leader to you? Well, there's no one right way to be a good leader. One style of leadership might work well in one company or an organization or situation, but not in another. Ultimately, leadership styles are a personal reflection of each individual leader and the inner strength, but there are a few key pointers that will certainly will help you build on your leadership skills, influence people to believe, trust, and join in your vision, and become an impactful leader. Let me take this opportunity to take you through my thoughts. I have a few thoughts, starting with the first one: establish a unique leadership style. What does it mean? Don't simply go with the flow and avoid one-size-fits-all strategies as a way to lead. Reflect on your own values, character traits, and talent. This is the best place to start to define your own leadership style. Use what you already possess and build more from there. You are unique as an individual. Make that uniqueness your drive to become an impactful leader. The second one, serve with your mind and heart. Leading is a gift. I'm sure you'll agree. The greatest and most impactful leaders in history have demonstrated that one of the most essential aspects is leading is having an attitude of service. An attitude of service is what genuinely connects leaders with people and how you earn their loyalty. Think about the many other ways in which you can serve. Don't lead blindly and without having a purpose. The third one, be generous and participate. Share your knowledge with those who you lead. Speak of your failures and successes and how you have become, you have tried and make sure that you overcome the obstacles on your way. Be a role model as well to inspire and motivate people to move forward. It is important to delegate. I will really share with you a story around delegation because it was also my weakness in the past, but I got through this. Though it is also important to get involved with those you lead, to learn about them and for them to feel supported. The next principle, embrace an environment of well-being. Serving others and being there all the way takes a lot of energy out of you. You need to know when enough is enough. Don't let yourself be consumed by attempting to take care of what can wait for another day. We always have this thing of really wanting to prove the point, particularly when it comes to females. So we really need to start looking after ourselves. You and those you serve need to be physically, emotionally, and mentally healthy to be productive and to celebrate successes. Personally, I look for ways to energize myself and take care of my mind and body so I can be the best at home, at work, and in my community. I enjoy a daily fitness routine And on the weekends, I put on my techies. Those who know me, those who follow me on social media will agree that I do run over the weekend. I'm not gonna really divulge as to what kilometers do I achieve. The next principle is foster a culture of inclusiveness. Get into the habit of focusing on the talents of each of your people and promote these talents. You need to be open to managing conflict and negativity effectively to make people feel they are in a safe environment. People perform and respond better when they know you are there for them, when you are approachable and encouraging all the time. The last principle for me is being a visible leader. Those who work with me, they will agree with me on what I'm going to share with you right now. Believe in senior leadership is one of the strongest drivers of engagement. People want leaders who walk the talk and are seen to be involved and committed to the company's vision and purpose. In the post-COVID-19 world, people are increasingly looking to their leaders to provide robust direction and support. It's also important for leaders to drive forward change and set the tone from the top. And in times like this, how these leaders communicate is also very vital. I must share with you that at PwC, for instance, we took a decision when the pandemic hit as to how we would communicate with our people. We took a decision to say who is going to communicate what, when, and how. And that really worked for us. We kept our messaging to a minimum, understanding that our people want clear and concise communication around matters that affect them. Knowing that the pandemic really didn't hit all of us in the same way. We have had stresses in the system, we have had anxiety, and even uncertainty about jobs and everything else. Perhaps the most important lesson to be learned is that your current circumstances do not predict your future. Growing up, I could not have imagined that I would be the CEO of the largest professional services firm, being PwC. I also could not imagine that I will be serving on the global board for PwC and being a partner, So those were not necessarily my aspirations. So on that note, let me take this opportunity to share with you my journey so that at least we can be able to engage afterwards. I know that I've already shared this journey with a lot of people, and forgive me those who have already listened to my story. It's unfortunate that I have to share it again in this forum. I was raised by my granny, and I strongly believe that that experience helped prepare me for the future role of CEO. My mother was a nurse working in Limpopo, and my father was a teacher. I was born in Soweto and grew up there until my mother decided that it's time for us to relocate back to Limpopo. She took us to a village, myself and my grandmother, and I continued to be raised by my grandmother. Unfortunately, my grandmother fell ill. Being one of the older grandchildren in the house, not necessarily my siblings, but my nephews, my nieces, my cousins, I took on the responsibility of running the household and doing all the washing, cooking, cleaning, etc. This taught me about the importance of independence, delegation, and the value of hard work. I always knew from the onset that I want to succeed in life, to be different, independent, and do better than my parents. And it will be through education, because we all know that education gives you choices, it gives you freedom. It is also ironic that I never actually wanted to be a chartered accountant. I dreamt of becoming a doctor, a medical doctor. But when I arrived at the university to enroll, I was told that BSc class was full, because that was really the university that could provide a BSc as a degree. Then I can move to Medunsa that time. I was advised to enroll for a Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting, which I did. I hadn't even studied accountancy at school, remember? I was inspired by one of my lecturers, and that's how my journey to become a CA began. But it was not an easy one and required a lot of learning and hard work. I would often wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to put in more work before and after classes. After completing my degree, I enrolled at UNISA, where I completed my CTA qualification, while working at the Auditor General's office, both in Venda and Pretoria. So I really started my career at the Office of the Auditor General, the former TBVC Auditor General. I then went on to complete my articles with one of the big, I think by that time it was the big 5 firms, the Legacy, Coopers and Leibrand. I must indicate that for me to proceed with one of the big firms, I belong to a program at the Auditor General where we were required to serve 1 year articles with them and then proceed to a reputable, audit firm. So that's why I had to complete my articles at Coopers and Leibrand. I know that recently they have a different scheme where you complete your articles with them. Mine was different. So my attitude during my articles was to learn, to be the best, raise the effort, and make sure that people have confidence in me. I carried this attitude with me throughout my entire career. Even now, I'm still having the same attitude. Being at Coopers and Leibrand was my first experience of work in the private sector, and I was enjoying it. But the public sector, being the Auditor General, would not release me from the contract. So I rejoined the Office of the Auditor General as a manager in performance audit. Then the Department of Justice as the first chief audit executive for nearly 5 years. I must say that I made a lot of impact while at the Department of Justice and received many accolades. I have no intention to really share with you all the accolades, but I want to single out one of them. I was awarded the Best Internal Auditor of the Year, representing both public and private sector. And this is really because I used to belong to a technical committee, and what I will do, because I was working for the Department of Justice, anything that is discussed in that committee, technical or otherwise, I will come back and update all the heads of internal audit within the public sector. So really, I've been a technical person from an early age in my career, and that I carried through even today. So after learning all that I could and sharing what I could, I began to miss the profession, and I was ready for something new. That's when I decided to rejoin the current PwC in 2004 as an associate director. Then I became the partner in 2005. I had an opportunity to serve on numerous leadership positions within the firm before this current role as CEO. Just to name a few, I became the Africa Governance, Risk and Internal Audit Leader, and I was also given the opportunity to be the Southern Africa Government and Public Sector Leader, and then the partner in charge for Mending, which was comprising by then 600 people, and the current role, which is the partner in charge of Waterfall. So this is really in addition to being the CEO. I was also afforded the opportunity to become the Africa Diversity and Inclusion Leader. In 2012, I was appointed chair of the South African board and a member of the Africa board. This is really after I have served as the South African board member since 2006. So it was just 1 year after my partnership admission. In 2015, I was elected to global board and had the opportunity to chair one of the subcommittees of that board. The subcommittee was called Transformation, Operations and People. So anything to do with people at a global scale, whether it's partner admission around the globe, operations and transformation, not necessarily the transformation we know, transformation in terms of systems. There is no one who has a crystal ball, I must share with you, and can tell where they will be in the future. What we all have control over is how much effort we put into making sure that everyone around us feels at home in our organization, feels they belong, and feels their contributions matter. If we do this, we build and inspire diverse teams that can excel. When I joined Coopers and Leibrand, there were no women CEOs to mentor me, but there were people who gave me a chance to be part of the family and who I learned from and who I also taught things. As I already shared with you, I had several leadership positions. So meaning that I have mentored, I have taught a lot of people who were below me. That sense of belonging inspires people to be the best they can be. We are all born with unique qualities, with strengths and imperfections. Surrounding yourself with the right coaches and mentors who can help you harness and draw from your various strengths and help you to build up your weakness, it's really gonna be taking you to succeed. I had such an individual. In fact, it's not only one individual. I had a lot of mentors within the firm and outside. And I took the initiative to invite them to partner with me in my career. If I can leave you with some thoughts, food for thought, really it can be valuable for you, which I really learned throughout my career journey. Believe in yourself and in your abilities. Raise your hand for opportunities, but when you are given that opportunity, apply yourself and perfect what you do. Seek a mentor who has time, experience, and who is honest with you. Never stop learning and keep on improving yourself. There will be obstacles along the way. The choice is yours and as to how you will deal with them. My advice is in this case, if you fail, you need to stand up, dust yourself, and keep walking until you achieve your aspirations. Surround yourself with people who share your values and vision. Volunteerism contributed to my career growth, and I'm still doing it. You will have picked up in my CV that at some stage I became the IIA, the Institute of Internal Auditors president. In fact, I was the longest serving president because most of the presidents served only 2 years. I served 4 years. I'm still involved with the Institute of Internal Auditors, not necessarily locally, globally and regionally. Yesterday, for your information, I was one of the speakers for their conference in Tanzania, but it was done virtually. So really for me, volunteerism helped a lot because I learned a lot during that time, engaging, establishing relationships, not only locally, globally as well. I'm also currently sitting as a trustee on the Internal Audit Foundation. 2 other prominent positions I have because we are not necessarily allowed to sit on listed company boards. I'm a board member for the American Chamber of Commerce. I'm also a board member for the Business Leaders South Africa. You will agree with me that those boards, in fact, the membership of those 2 organizations is majority listed companies. So really for me, learning doesn't stop. The other last comment I want to make is that as a leader, you need to remain humble and treat all people with respect. I really thank you for this opportunity and really, yeah, I will hear from you in terms of questions.
Sure, thank you so much, Shelly. I had to turn off my camera because I was taking notes furiously. I mean, I don't know where to start in terms of just the pearls that I think I got from you. I think you said, if at first you don't succeed, you must get up. And immediately I'm revealing my age, I suppose. I remembered Alia's song. If at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. I could try and sing it, but then people will log off because of my singing. So let's not do that. So I think for me, what I gathered is that the topic, when we said Africa, we were spot on in terms of the choice of leader that would come and speak. I mean, your experience around Africa governance and the global experience that you bring in. I mean, what you've shared with us, and I think for me, I want to maybe just probe a little bit. I just got a quote when I was trying to prepare for this session from Joseph C. Rost. He's a leadership guru, and what I got off the net was that leadership is about transformation, all kinds of transformation. And I mean, what you shared with us around just your journey with diversity and inclusion. I think I want to maybe just probe there. Thinking about the 21st century and just how it's fast paced, just maybe a little bit around how you deal with transformation from a diversity and inclusion perspective, but also just from how you then make sure that as an organization you stay abreast and ahead of all these changes. I think I want to bring in, when we talk about transformation, the other lens. So it's two lenses of transformation that I'm asking you about. But I think key for us as a BMF and an organization that's driving transformation is around just the recent results from SAICA in terms of the board and the pass rates of Black people or African people specifically. I mean, the numbers were not great. I'm just trying to opening up the numbers so that I can share with members. In terms of the pass rate, African, we had 24% for African male and 23% for African female. And if we add just in terms of AIC, we had 52% pass for colored. But in terms, I think what is telling is just around the numbers of the Africans, the African in terms of just the ratio, I suppose. And then we've 55 out of the 106 that passed for colored. Indians, it was 56%, 146 out of the 262 that wrote. This is the male numbers, and then for Africans, what 716. So I think for me, the central question really is, how would we transform the accounting profession? And I'm asking you specifically this question because of your background, educational background. If these are the numbers, but a more telling or more worrying is that these people go to the same universities. And they probably train at the same firms, in terms of when doing articles. What is the issue? How are we going to transform? What needs to be done to transform the occupation? I mean, thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks a lot, Mpho. You are very right. All of us, it's not necessarily only people in the profession. I mean, people who have interest in this profession, we are disappointed with the results. So maybe before I start talking about what can be done, it's more to really paint a picture which I think you will resonate with, because I mean, you're focusing on the Black candidates. So ever since we got these results, we have been in discussions, whether it's amongst colleagues, whether it's with SAICA, all the stakeholders, including Abasa as well. Yesterday, I was talking to one of our partners, an African Black partner, to say, you know what, I'm preparing for my meeting with SAICA. They are intending to meet with all the CEOs of the big firms and also the other emerging firms, just to really understand, what could have happened and what is the way forward. You will agree with me that when it comes to the Black child, there are also social issues, inequalities. So let me narrate the story that the partner shared with me. He says to me, Shelly, even if we are saying we continue to support our candidates, particularly as the big firms, we know that during that exam, we have to surround these people with all the support that they need, so that at least they have time to study, and then when they sit for those exams, they succeed. Let me unpack why that statement. You will appreciate that PwC has been producing the largest number of Black CAs. And when I talk Black, it's more ACI, all those three categories. And we always pride ourselves with that. ABASA recognizes us every year around it. So seeing these results, it affects us because we have interest. So the partner told me, Shelly, do you know that even if we are supporting these people, there's still some things that we don't see. Let's take a candidate who stays far away from the urban areas, right? This person doesn't necessarily have data or connectivity, or if the person has data, connectivity is not there, right? That is another challenge. With COVID-19, you'll appreciate that there are parents or maybe relatives who lost their jobs. So COVID-19 also contributed to this in the sense that, he kept on sharing with me that there's this other candidate who is staying in the informal settlements, and both parents lost their jobs. So the reason why we were talking particularly about this candidate, we were saying, no, let's see what we can do to help her so that at least she can be more prepared, because she's a good candidate. If we give her more support financially as well, she can be able to make it, because now she was even thinking of leaving so that at least she can go and find another job that will give her more money, and then she can be able to support her siblings and the parents. So in a nutshell, I'm saying there's so many, it's a cocktail of things that are affecting this whole thing. Even if you go to PwC and you're given the right support and whatever, there's other things back at home that can affect you, right? But again, the picture I want to paint is that, yes, you are in PwC as an African Black, you have the coach, all the systems that are supposed to support you. Sometimes you're not gonna grasp whatever concept the same way as the white person. So it means that we need to relook at the way we coach our people. So for example, at PwC, we have a coaching program where we match you with a particular experienced person to really help you through the journey. But I'm saying that coaching we need to take a deep dive so that at least we can do more than what we are doing. It's a value chain, it's not only the audit firms, it's also SAICA, it's also the markers, it's also the exam setters. ABASA is putting a lot of pressure on all these people who are involved. As I said to you, I think last week we had a meeting with ABASA. We are going to have a meeting with SAICA. The aim is really to relook at what else we can do so that at least we can, if we have to redesign the exams or maybe relook at the competency model, we need to do that. So, we're talking as we're speaking now, we're collaborating proactively so that at least we come up with solutions. So solutions for me, they're not going to be one size fits all, because if you look at the people who failed, they're also white people. But it's more to make sure that we tailor-make the solutions to the situations. And obviously this will warrant engaging with the candidates as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Sis Shelly. I think what I got from you is that cultural context is really important when you're tailoring support programs, because it's not a one size fit all. And I think in most organizations, most organizations in South Africa would have previously been white dominated. So the culture context would be that kind of culture, and we need to start thinking about how that impacts, whether positively or negatively, on a Black person who grew up in a different cultural context. I see Clay, I wanted to ask another question, but let's give Clearly, because I think it's a little bit her question is I think it's her question is related. She's saying, talking of mentoring and coaching, how has PwC sought to make it integral to the development of junior accountants? Clearly sounds like somebody in the profession.
I can sense that this person is in the profession, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's in PwC. Yeah, Alina will help me. She's on the call. So for us, as I said from the beginning, we pride ourselves with seeing the numbers, overtaking all the other, competitors. And really, this is a strategic imperative for PwC. We're trying our best. I can tell you a lot of other programs that we put in place to make sure that our people are properly supported. I know that operationally you might find that there are some people who feel they're not being supported. So these conversations I'm talking about are going to include those kind of people, so that at least they are not left behind. We want to make sure that we have all the information so that at least it will help us to craft the way forward. But from PwC, I believe that we have programs to really make sure that our people are fully supported. Let me also tell you something that I forgot to tell you. The other story I had as well is that apparently these people who wrote these exams are more in between. When I say they're in between, it's people who are surrounded by junior accountants and senior people who, managers. Yeah, they're in between managers and junior accountants. So apparently what happens is that, they are delegated a lot of responsibilities by the managers, and then the junior accountants, not knowing exactly what they're supposed to do, they end up delegating upwards. So you see, there's pressure as well, in addition to all the social ills that I explained to you. So it's more to really make sure that we educate our people to say, this is the group that needs all the support so that at least they can write with a clear mind, because this exam is torture, so you need to be very, very sober minded. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So earlier when you were talking about, an environment of well-being, I just remembered we had Mandisa Mashego a couple of weeks back, and how she went on. She was very passionate about healthy, as a woman, just keeping yourself healthy and stuff. And it's a theme that I like. I think as women, we don't really look after ourselves, and I think I brought it up because balance, in terms of and you did mention it, in terms of just taking time out and just balancing, and how it then affects your mental well-being as well, and you're not able to write your exams. But what I wanted to, I think what you didn't touch on, and which was a point that I was very fascinated about when I read, is that you've written around governance with Mervyn King. So, and obviously that makes me want to ask you around just, in South Africa, we've got commissions after commission, and we've heard where some people who have said before the most famous commission, talking about a failure in governance around boards and stuff. And I know that PwC is very strong in terms of your training of board and your material around governance. So what in your view really is really missing? Because some of the people that fail at this governance is people that we've looked up to. So just perhaps in terms of just your, actually I had two questions, totally unrelated, but I want to just get it in before before we run out of time. So it's really around just governance globally, in terms of outside of the personal, and just risk management as a person. So I think we all often think of risk, but we think of risk when we're doing work and stuff. But just as how important is that in terms of just your career planning, and you continuously doing a risk management evaluation on your choices and your in your life, basically your life journey. Then I'm gonna completely hand over to other people, well, that's not polite.
Again, thank you for that question. Mpho. It's very, very relevant. What I can say to you is that governance has failed us, right? It has failed us in the sense that whatever we are seeing, you find that, those organizations that they're talking about, they've been boards. And if you try to do a deep dive on those boards, the individuals who are sitting there, it's very strong people. People who you will believe they understand what is supposed to be done. So that's why I say governance has failed us. It's more really, for me, it's going back to the basics. What do I mean by going back to the basics? You know that maybe let me start with the concerns that the board members are having at the moment. They are very worried about liability, because if something goes wrong in an organization, you are liable in terms of the company sector, whatever. And sometimes they are also very worried that whatever information they're getting is not necessarily complete. Sometimes it's about those board members who are sitting there not necessarily understanding their roles and responsibilities, So that's why I say it's really going back to the basics and make sure that when you're a board member, you take your role very seriously. You become an ethical leader in such a way that you keep on asking the right questions, asking the questions the right way, because sometimes you might ask the right questions, but you're not asking them the right way. So remember, when it comes to management, who is always providing that information to the board members, they can take advantage of that. Sometimes they do it intentionally. So it's really around making sure that you show up in terms of preparing, in terms of understanding your role, so that when you're sitting on that board, you do the right thing and you become objective and courageous. I've seen, as I said to you, I've served on certain boards, and I'm still serving on other boards as well. I've seen situations where a particular board member will just come to a board meeting and having the pack and everything, but they don't say nothing. So you start wondering that person, did he or she prepare for the meeting, or maybe she prepared or he prepared, but he is not necessarily he's not objective in terms of making sure that he asks the right questions. Yeah. So we need to be vigilant. If you want to be if you are aspiring to become a board member, make sure you are vigilant and make sure that you really update yourself with what is happening. Let me touch on corruption, because you mentioned the fact that we have a lot of commissions, and mainly it's around corruption. There's definitely a very important committee, and I know that this committee has not necessarily advanced, in the sense that it's still early ages for a lot of organizations. I'm talking about the Social and Ethics Committee. Why I singled out the Social and Ethics Committee is because if you look at the role of the Social and Ethics Committee, it's all the things that include corruption as well, whether it's people issues or whatever, even the recent aspects that are keeping the boards very busy, ESG. So if you become a board member and you're not updated when it comes to ESG, and you're sitting on that committee, what sort of questions are you going to be asking? So that's what I'm saying when I say to you, it's going back to the basics and try to do the right thing as a board member. But if you're still aspiring, think about it. Make sure that you keep on empowering yourself before you get to that board. Otherwise, we will be reading on the newspapers.
Okay. So I see Mahai's hand is up, but I want to take Mahai. I'll take you after we take Bafana's question. Bafana is asking around the concept of a sponsor in leadership career advancement, and how one goes about in building this type of relationship. I think that's a critical question. We don't talk enough about career sponsorship. Thanks, Bafana. Shelly.
Yes, thank you so much. I always say to people, it's important to choose your sponsor, or whoever is going to support you in your career journey. I think during my sharing of my journey, I indicated to you that, you know, you need to consider somebody who is experienced, you know. You need to consider somebody who has time, because it doesn't help that that person is experienced but doesn't have time, because this person needs to walk with you throughout your journey, you know. And the person should really be having visibility of what you do. Let's say maybe you get a sponsor from outside your organization. There must be an instance where all the time you continuously update him or her on what you're doing, because it's very difficult that if that person doesn't have visibility of what you're doing, you know, he or she will be in a position to really, you know, advise you accordingly. So even if he's not in the organization, make sure he's up to date. The other important aspect, it should be somebody who's honest. You know, there's nothing like having a sponsor who is not honest with you, is always telling you what you want to hear. I don't like those kind of sponsors, and I'm fortunate that I had people who will tell me the honest fact and take me out of my comfort zone. I remember in my role immediately after I was admitted a partner at PwC. The moment you become a partner, you still continue with the journey of having a mentor or a sponsor. One day I came out of his office crying because he was telling me the honest fact. He was telling me things that I'm not necessarily doing well, and obviously things that I'm doing well. So I just bursted into tears because I felt, you know, this person is too honest for me and I can't take it anymore. But you know, when you go back home, you think about it. If you really want to grow, you will take whatever advice you were given seriously and do what you're supposed to do to address those weaknesses. Yeah. And it should be somebody who is influential as well. That's what I learned. You know, you need to have somebody who's influential, because particularly if that person is within your organization, you can imagine if they are talking about your performance for the year, and you know, that person doesn't have visibility on your work, and that person doesn't have a seat at the table. It's very difficult. You will forever be, what is the word? You will forever be ignored when it comes to promotions and nice salary increases. That's my advice.
It's so true, though, around somebody who's influential. I think it's important to be with somebody who, you know, you get along with, but it doesn't help if that person is not influential. So it's quite interesting as a concept, but I'll share with you another time.
Yeah, I think I forgot to share as well that remember this relationship, you are the one who is supposed to be very proactive in the process. Even the people who ask me to really support them in their journey, I tell them upfront that, you know, please make sure that you, if you want to see me, initiate those meetings, initiate those discussions. Let's agree on the criteria, how we're gonna you know, work together. Yeah, that really strengthens the relationship as well.
That's also key. Magai, your question?
Okay, thank you. I hope this time around you won't lose me within. I think mine goes back to when you first started and you started talking about leadership. You said that it's important for one to be unique, you have to have your own unique style that sort of defines you, and also to be relevant in the process, which means that continued professional development is something that is very important. But what I have found is that emotional and behavioral intelligence also plays a distinct role. Obviously, we are in different organizations, and the culture of those organizations differ. So as individuals, maybe I must redirect it towards you. obviously you groomed in a certain way. Have you found that you had to change your behavioral style? Or if they call it man up, I know you're a woman and you must woman up, not necessarily man up, but be intelligent emotionally so that you can execute certain responsibilities that have been assigned to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mahai, for the question. In fact, I remember at some point in one of the sessions, I was asked this question, but in a different way, to say, what made you stand out in a male-dominated environment, which is, I think, aligned to what you're asking. So I don't believe in changing. I believe in being authentic, and people who know me will tell you that I am like that. So the fact that remember, PwC is still very, particularly at my level, it's still majority is, males. So I don't really have to change, my style or whatever. I have my own strength. I also have my weaknesses as well. And I believe that for you to be a good leader, you need to be complemented by other people. So there's no way that you can have all the leadership attributes, but amongst the team, there will be people who are going to complement what you have. The important thing is make sure that you delegate, you surround yourself with the experts, and then if maybe there's something in particular that you need to deal with, is just to delegate to the person. Yes, you can't abdicate the responsibility, but you need to know who to delegate to, when, but remain up to date with everything. I mean, at the CEO level, you need to have a bit of everything. If it's about human capital, I'm talking to the human capital leader, I need to know all those things. I need to be able to ask the right questions. If I'm talking to a risk management partner, I should know all those things. So yeah, but the overall thing is that you don't have to change. You need to remain authentic. The other attribute which is very important, it's really emotional intelligence. Last night, I was talking to this other executive in another organization. She's a friend of mine, and we were asking each other, "How are you doing?" And she said, "Oh no, I'm really trying my best." So she started sharing her issues. I said to her, "You know what? The important thing is really to choose your battles. You can't fight everything. You need to make sure that you have the emotional intelligence and you steer away from disruptions, because there will definitely be disruptions, particularly when it comes to us as females. It's not easy. Some people will do it intentional, but you need to focus on your vision, focus on what you want to achieve, and make sure that you read up a lot, because people will give you information knowing that maybe you don't know. So you need to be an all-rounded person in terms of knowing bits and pieces, except for your technical expertise, because being the CEO is not necessarily about being technical. I mean, all of us, we have really proved the point that we have those quality reports or whatever. It's about more leadership. The whole issue of being inclusive is also very important, particularly in our environment, because as I'm saying, yes, you might find that we majorities is ACI, but as soon as you go up the ladder, majority becomes a white male. So if you are seen not to be inclusive, it becomes a problem. By nature, I'm like that. I don't want to leave other people behind. So my work ethics as well are very good. They made sure that they align to the culture of the industry. Because in the industry, if you are not necessarily a hardworking person, putting in a lot of effort, it becomes a problem. Being consultative as well, Mahai, as I said, you can't be the Mrs. Know-it-all. You need to continuously consult in cases where you need some kind of direction, even outside. We have senior partners who retired at PwC. So if maybe I come to a stage where I got stuck, there's no harm for me to consult with those people. Some of them are my mentors. Even Marvin King himself is my mentor, so I consult with him on other aspects that I believe that he can help me with. Yeah.
Great. So you mentioned picking your battles, and what I've experienced of you is that you're a nurturing person. And I wondered how you balance that, because I have been imagining you in my head as somebody who would always want to help, and sometimes you can't help everybody because as a person you don't have the capacity. In any case, you only have 24 hours. Has that been is it? Maybe I read it wrong, but has that been an issue for you at all in your journey, and how have you balanced it, if it was?
So if I understand your question correctly, Mpho, you are saying being a helpful person, how did I manage to do that given the challenges, or what?
No, so in terms of just being a person who likes to help people and see people progress, and sometimes you get invested in people so much that it impacts you. How have you managed that? That's my view of you. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but how have you balanced that?
Yeah, you are very right. I like to help people, and sometimes I wonder because when you like to help people, sometimes you forget about yourself, and it puts a lot of strain on you. So most of the cases really I become successful in helping people, no matter how difficult the situations are. And I'm really talking particularly within the firm, and I like to make sure that maybe I must say to you, you will laugh at what I'm going to say. I'm a politician, not necessarily politician in the sense of the word. All of us, you'll agree that we are politicians. And I'm not talking, the real politicians who are now up and running and whatever. I'm talking politician in the corporate world, right? So my strategy all the time, Mpho, is to make sure that I study people that I work with, and make sure that I understand them. In the process of understanding them, I will also understand who is powerful, who is not powerful, right? And in that process, I will also try and make sure that I have my own allies. So that strategy has worked for me, because if, for example, I want to help you, you come and tell me your problem, and you already went to your group leader, you have went to your senior partner and whatever, I navigate through the process as a politician and say, if this person has already, gone through these protocols, what else can I do? So I will find one ally who will be able to help me, so that when I'm around the boardroom table talking about the issue, that ally will automatically support me. And obviously, you know about this campaigning, collaborating outside the boardroom. I do that. Sorry, I don't know if there's PwC people on the call. Yeah, I do that as well. So I will know a particular problem, and I will make sure that I will talk to the person who will understand the situation, who will give me the support when we are now in that public forum. So it has helped me a lot. But yes, there will be those instances where you are stuck. You can see that you are not finding a way through. My strategy is really to, if maybe I'm upset about that, I sleep on the matter. I avoid a situation where if I'm upset, I confront you on the spot. I will sleep on the matter. The following day, obviously throughout the night, I'll be thinking about the next strategy. The following day, I'll become a very better person, in the sense that when I now talk to you, I will be talking at a strategic level. Yeah, in a very strategic manner, in such a way that, while the message is the same, I will be able to achieve what I want to achieve in a subtle way. Yeah.
My unmute button was not working there. Yeah, it's quite interesting, Shelly, because it's lobbying, right? I mean, I mean, I once asked in one of the organizations that I worked at in a forum, blatantly to the leadership that was sitting, which was mostly men. I asked, do we need to, there's a smoking area outside and you often see them smoking together. And I deliberately asked, do I need to start smoking to get access? Because it seems like the smoking crew is the one that is getting all the goods. But yeah, but I think really it's a key skill, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think men have been doing it all the time, and I think as women it's about time we start doing it. After all, yeah, it's really, when you want to succeed, you need to work with people, and that's what you do. You align and around a common value, obviously. I think as long as your values, you've investigated your values and you align, I feel there's nothing wrong. It's a skill that I'm trying to work on. So Noah's got a loaded question, Shelly, and especially for us as BMF members, going this year being our triennial election year, and us pushing for a woman president, in terms of just some of the resolutions that have been made and as have been circulated. And so it's a topical debate, I think, BMF, and I suppose maybe that's he's also wondering. So his question is, I think the first sentence, I'll just read from the second sentence. Why don't we have sufficient number of Black women being elected presidents or chairpersons of organizations? And then, are organizations resistant to women leadership? Do women not play the political power play or dynamics within such organizations? I think you partly answered that. And then, serving on so many association boards, what should women do to be elected? So it's quite packed. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe, let me start with the last one of saying, what should women do to be elected to these prestigious boards and whatever? For me, I will tell you that, and I think you'll agree, all of us, that we are still underrepresented. We will continue to be underrepresented until such time. I know that there's some progress made in other sectors, but there's still a lot of work to be done, So my belief is that if we now have, even if it's a sprinkle of women leaders, and really it's not necessarily the responsibility of women leaders only, even the male leaders, it's more about creating spaces for the young and upcoming. And when you have created spaces for those people, you don't just leave them there, you support them. So if, for example, there's somebody who wants to aspire to be a board member, it's really about those chairpersons on the board to create those spaces, and even, ask you, if possible, do you want to become a board member or whatever, and then they give you the support they need. I can tell you there's a lot of names that I know, females younger than me, who are now starting to crack the boardroom. And when I ask them, how did you get to, and I'm talking listed companies, how did you get to that board? No, sometimes they get a call from white male, very old chairpersons or board members, asking them that, are you interested? And again, sometimes it's because that person started at a particular board, which is not necessarily even listed. But when you are given that opportunity, the thought that I gave you, it's about showing up, making sure that you prepare, ask the right questions, be visible. Because if you are given that opportunity and you are not visible throughout the whole board meeting, you're not saying anything. And I'm really including boards for the public sector, because sometimes you find that these male white people that we are talking about who are sitting on listed company boards, they are also in the public sector boards. So if you are there and then they can see that you really, do a deep dive in terms of asking questions, the right questions, you're courageous as well, they will nominate you or refer you to another organization. And, it goes like that until you can no more take any other board opportunity. The person that I'm talking to you about, she started getting to these listed company boards. And I can tell you that last week I had dinner with her and she said, Shelly, I don't have capacity anymore. It's because when she's in those board meetings, she really does her responsibility. She embraces her responsibilities with passion. Yeah.
Okay, great. I see that we are fast running out of time. I think you had promised to give us a story around delegation, but I see we've got 6 minutes before.
Oh. Yeah, so Mpo, the story I wanted to tell you is that I was really not good in delegation. And that's why in my speech I said it's important to share your failures in life and your successes, so that people must not think that when you are in this position, you ticked all the boxes. There were areas where you were not good at, but because of my mentor who was honest, I remember one day he called me to his office, one of the senior partners, he retired already. He said to me, Shelly, I don't know who you want to showcase your technical abilities. You have already shown this whole firm that you are very technical in what you do. So really, you're not becoming impactful because you're keeping on doing the same old over and over again, instead of delegating to your other team members, whatever. That time I was the governance, risk and internal audit leader for Africa. You can imagine, the structure was the whole of Africa. So, but it's because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. When it comes to the audit report, whatever report that I'm producing, I want to make sure that, everything has been done the proper way. I don't want to sit in an audit committee meeting where I'm the partner presenting the report and then I see some spelling errors and whatever. So that's why, I was like that. But I started learning to delegate. The senior partner was not the only person who told me that. There was also a forensic leader at PwC. We were at an equivalent level. I was leading governance, risk, and internal audit. He was leading forensics. And he said to me, and we studied together, we passed board exam together. So at least that whole communication at a similar level, it helps as well. Then he said to me, Shelly, you are not going to make it. Start delegating, start trusting your team. If maybe you find that there's one word which is not sitting where it's supposed to be, who cares? It's just a minor error. But the rest, I'm sure, if you train your managers, your junior partners, you will get it right. So I had to learn bit by bit. Right now, I can tell you, I do it a lot. I delegate. Yeah, I don't waste time. And that's why maybe, I can be able to do other things in a very impactful way,
Yeah, I think it's really an important story. Many of us who started in a technical role and you move up because of your excellence in the technical role. Now you're leading people, learning to let go of that excellence and start from the bottom again to build up is often quite difficult. So definitely very useful, I think, for most of us. So I don't want to let you go, but I think you've given us a lot, and I know you've remained very supportive of the BMF in itself. I mean, the governance course that some of us attended, you know, we've got the certificate, and just your partnership with us has really been great. So we really value that, and we value you as a person as well. So I'm going to hand over, there's 2 minutes left. I'm going to hand over to Gaupaleli to do the official thank you. And then also just do announcements. I don't see any other questions, but I think certainly for me, it felt like a one-on-one coaching session, not even a mentorship session, coaching session. I've got action items here that I can go and start working on. And I'm definitely going to be coming back to some of the other stuff. So really great. And I'm sure everybody who was on this call feels exactly like I do. So Gao, please, over to you.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Chairperson, for that. I think like it was already alluded to say, okay, let me firstly start by taking this opportunity to appreciate our guest of honor, Ma'am Shelly. Thank you so much for availing yourself and always partnering with the BMF. That is really much appreciated. I think most importantly for tonight, right, what I really like is that we value your insight that you have shared with the BMF members today. And I think I am of the belief that we walk out of this session really better equipped to lead efficiently, and most importantly, really to build ourselves up. And I think that nugget that you also shared to say that we need to show up and actually do your best, wherever you are. And I think that is really much appreciated. And I'd like to take this time and say to the attendees, on behalf of the Gauteng leadership, BMF Gauteng leadership, we thank you for taking this opportunity really to choosing and spending your valuable time with us this evening. And hereafter, I really like to implore you to pause, reflect, and envision on tonight's nuggets, because there was a wealth of information that was shared. I think further to this is that I would really encourage each and every single one on this call for tonight to be on the lookout for all the upcoming BMF events, right? And to the non-members, allow me to take this opportunity to invite you to join the BMF. And you can really visit our website for more information on www.bmfonline.co.za. And lastly, to the team that really put this together, thank you so much. And for inviting our honored guest. I think today we walked out better people really out of this session. And ladies and gentlemen, mine was a really short brief, and I really don't want to take most of your time, like the chairperson has already alluded to, that you know what, we only have 2 minutes. And with that, having said that, Ma'am Shelly and the chairperson, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, good evening and goodbye.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sis Shelly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.